So back on the 360, there was, if you remember, the Xbox Live Arcade, which was, smaller sized games that you could download. In the beginning, it started off with small games like, Pac-Man, Dig Dug, Hexic HD, Geometry Wars. And as the 360's life progressed, the games got bigger and bigger. And towards the end of the 360, they kind of did away with the Xbox Live Arcade because they started releasing full-fledged games on the 360 to download, like modern games, at least modern at the time. And so at that point, it's just kind of like they just did away with the Xbox Live Arcade brand. So I've been actively trying to collect all of the physical Xbox Live Arcade games that got releases on the 360. And so I thought, why don't I do a video, kind of give like a checklist. Like I said, some of the later games on the 360 were actually full-fledged releases. So what's an arcade game and what's a full-fledged release was kind of meh. But, like the Telltale games, like The Walking Dead and whatnot, I think those were considered Xbox Live Arcade games because they were like episodic releases. But at the end of the day, it's still one full game. But I rambled on enough. Let me show you what I got, what I need to get, and maybe some other miscellaneous stuff. But this is solely a list of physical releases on the 360 in North America. Because I don't want to collect Japanese or Europe games because that's a whole nother can of worms. Like, there's enough games in North America. I don't need to be collecting this Japanese weeaboo shit. But anyway, enough rambling. Let me get into the video. I'm like 3 minutes in. I haven't done a damn thing yet. Okay, so let's start off with the first game in a long series of physical releases, which would be the Xbox Live Arcade Unplugged Volume 1 of 1. They only did one volume. It's a very long series. Yeah, I really wish they would have continued this because there's so many games on the 360 that are just like lost to time now, but whatever. So this is actually dirt cheap, believe it or not. And there are 6 games on here. 5 of them are backwards compatible. 1 is not. But this has Bejeweled 2, which you'll hear about that later. Geometry Wars. Wick Fable of Souls, which is not backwards compatible. Texas Hold'em Poker. Outpost Coloki X. I think I pronounced that right. And Hardwood Backgammon. So, 6 games for just less than $10 is not bad. Especially like Geometry Wars alone is worth the price in my opinion. So next up we have, I don't even know what this was included with. It wasn't like a physical retail release, but it's just Xbox Live Arcade Game Pack. It comes with Luminous HD, Geometry Wars 2, and Bomberman Live. 3 worthwhile games. And, this is not the only release that the 360 had of Luminous. All right, next up is the Xbox Live Arcade compilation disc. This was actually included with some 360s as like a pack-in game, but it comes with Pac-Man Championship Edition, Uno, Boom Boom Rocket, Feeding Frenzy, and Luxor 2. Because, 2. And I believe both of those are cheap as well. I think all 3 of those combined, you could probably get for like $20 or less, like combined. So next up, we have the triple pack, which has Trials HD, Limbo, and Splosion Man, which are 3 like great games. Like, this is a solid like compilation. There is another triple pack, which I believe is like solely Ubisoft games, which is Outland, From Dust, and Beyond Good and Evil HD. But unfortunately, that one was only released in Europe. And like I said, I personally am not interested in games from other countries, but I am tempted to get it because of Outland. Like, I don't care about the other 2, but I want Outland. The next up is Cubed, which has Luminous Live, what do you know? Res HD, and Every Extend Extra Extreme. which I did not care for that one at all. But this one, worthwhile for at least Res and Luminous. All right, next up is the Serious Sam collection, which has, 4 games on here? It has Serious Sam HD, the first encounter, Serious Sam HD, the second encounter, Serious Sam 3, the Serious Sam 3 Jewel of the Nile, which I think is DLC, and Serious Sam Double D XXL. So yeah, 4 games plus DLC. And this ain't half bad. I think most of these are cheap, at least the ones that I have. We'll get into the expensive ones. But then this is probably the best compilation idea and the biggest letdown, which was the Dreamcast collection, because these were actually released individually as Xbox Live Arcade games. And this has Sonic Adventure, Crazy Taxi, Space Channel 5 Part 2, and Sega Bass Fishing. What a letdown that was. Such a great idea. A Dreamcast compilation. Let's give you 2 games that are obvious choices and 2 games that are like, okay. There's so many other games they could have gave us. Okay, before I go any further, there was a lot of Sega Genesis games released as Xbox Live Arcade games, and there is a Sonic's Ultimate Genesis collection, which has some of those games on it, but it's not the Xbox Live Arcade versions. Like the achievement lists, it's got its own achievement list, whereas the individual releases on Xbox Live Arcade had their own achievement lists. So, yeah, you know, if you want to count that, you can, but that's just a FYI. But next up is Namco Museum Virtual Arcade, which has 34 games on it. 9 games were released as Xbox Live Arcade games, and then the other 20 something were just put on here as a compilation. It has Galaga Legions, Pac-Man Championship Edition, Mr. Driller Online, Pac-Man, Galaga, Miss Pac-Man, Dig Dug, Xevious, and New Rally X. But since I'm in the instruction manual, let me just list off every game that's on here that's not an Xbox Live Arcade game, just so you know, in case you're interested. Let me butcher this name. Baraduke, Bosconian, Dig Dug 2, Dig Dug Arrangement, Dragon Buster, Dragon Spirit, Galaga 88, Galaga Arrangement, Galaxian, Grobda. I've never heard of some of these games. King and Balloon, Mappy, Metrocross, Motos, Pac-and-Pal, Pac-Man Arrangement, Pac-Mania, Pole Position 2, Rally X, Rolling Thunder, Spy Kid Deluxe, Super Pac-Man, The Tower of Draga. Yeah, that's like seriously, like over 30 games. Like that's not a bad compilation. All right, so next we're gonna get into some a bunch of repeats. So you have PopCap Arcade Volume 1, which comes with Bejeweled 2, Astro Pop, Feeding Frenzy, and Zuma, which Feeding Frenzy and Bejeweled 2 I have already mentioned in previous compilations. Just like we've already had 2 releases of Luminous, 2 releases of Geometry Wars. But anyway, then we got PopCap Arcade Volume 2, which comes with Peggle, Feeding Frenzy 2, and Heavy Weapon. Then we have more PopCap Arcade compilations that aren't volumes. We have the Plants vs. Zombies collection, or not collection, but game. But it also comes with Peggle and Zuma, which were just in the previous one. So we got 2 releases of 2 more games. Then we have Zuma's Revenge, which comes with Bejeweled 3 and Feeding Frenzy 2. Then we got Bejeweled 3, which comes with Bejeweled Blitz. So, you know, between all these PopCap games, it's like, let's release the same game multiple times instead of I don't get it. Like, why couldn't they just make volume? Like, they gave us this, but then it's like, let's not continue with the volumes. Let's have it's Plants vs. Zombies, but with some bonus games. Then it's Zuma's Revenge with some bonus games. Just big compilations. Why are you going to be so difficult? All right, so that's all that I... Oh, no, I do have on my... Minecraft. It was an Xbox Live Arcade game on the 360 when it came out. It didn't have a physical release. But then it did get a physical release, and then it got released on everything else. And I actually want to go and pick that up on the 360 again. I did have it back in the day, but I sold it and rebought it on the Switch just because that's more convenient on the Switch for me. But it's a very different game now than it was back then. So it's almost like having two different versions of Minecraft. But then we get into the games that I don't have. There is the Konami Classics Volume 1 and 2. Volume 1 has Symphony of the Night, Frogger, and Super C, which is Contra, I think. And then there's Volume 2, which has, what was it, Track and Field, Contra, and Russian Attack, which I want to get those two, but those are the two more pricey ones. Then there is the Capcom Digital Collection, which I don't have pulled up. I got to pull it up real quick. Beep, 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 beep. Bear with me. I swear I planned ahead for this. So the Capcom Digital Collection has Street Fighter 2 HD Remix, Final Fight Double Impact, Super Puzzle Fighter 2 Turbo HD Remix, 1942 Joint Strike, Bionic Commando Rearmed 2, Wolf of the Battlefield Commando 3, Flock, which is the game that I want that for, which is like you're herding sheep not hurting, but herding. You're trying to guide these sheep to a goal, but you're playing as a UFO. Anyways, but there's Flock, and then there is Rocket Man that comes with the expansion pack. It came from Uranus. I'm sorry, Uranus. But yeah, there's those. And then there's also the Worms HD collection, which I don't have. But when I do get it, I'd rather get it on PS3, because there's also the Worms Revolution collection, which in North America didn't come out on the 360, it came out in Europe, but we only got it on the PS3. So for me, I'd rather just get all my Worms games on the PS3 and just have them together, because I'd rather have them together if possible than game over here, game over there, but whatever. And then there's also, a couple games, like there was the Monkey Island remasters, whatever you want to call them. It had like a double pack that was only released in Europe. But I'm not sure if I'm really missing anything. Please let me know if I am, so I can like add it in the description or something, so other people can know. But yeah, that's like, from my point of view, like all the physical Xbox Live Arcade compilations that at least I could find. There were some others that did get physical releases that weren't on the 360, like Super Meat Boy and Missplosion Man and Castle Crashers. Thank God. This took forever to get a physical release. But yeah. If there's any other, like I said, if there's any other games that I missed, let me know. I'm not gonna talk about the Telltale games because I don't consider those Xbox Live Arcade games, but thanks for watching, and I will see you next time.